are unstoppable down there. Like an army of two.
Army of Two is a co-op third-person shooter developed by EA Montreal and published by Electronic Arts in 2008. The game's producer, Ryd Schneider, had previously produced Battlefield Vietnam Redux, while its lead content director, Francois Pelland, was the producer of GoldenEye Rogue Agent. The story depicts the 16-year-long career of the titular Army of Two, a pair of army rangers turned mercenaries who brave danger together in search of the next big payday. Their carefree attitude is eventually challenged when they get embroiled in a conspiracy set to change warfare forever. If you, like me, played Army of Two in retrospect, then what stands out the most about it is how true to form it is. This is a colorless, dumb, and poorly rendered bro-coded 7th gen shooter handling delicate topics with the agility and grace of a drunken Sasquatch. It's easy to forget how fast culture can change, but to a lot of people, this was video games in 2008. For good or bad, depending on who you ask. With how brazen the game is about its subject matter, I was initially hesitant to even talk about it, but I soon realized that it's entirely hollow and not worth any attempts at geopolitical commentary. What fascinates me about this game, beyond the raw whiplash it evokes, is how it ended up like this. There's some special concoction of budget increases, tech advances, changing culture, the desire for more mature themes, and gaming's rise in popularity that all came together to this one questionable point. While going back to this era as of late, I time and time again am just baffled about what economical and creative forces drove so many games into this exact shape. The 5-hour campaigns, the ugly environments, the bad bosses, the insipid storytelling. You look at a game like this and wonder who signed up to make it and why. Creating games is hard, so you have to assume there was some level of passion involved, one that either got subsumed by the publishing machine at EA or is completely earnest about this being the coolest, bestest thing ever. Neither answer sits right with me, even though I like my fair share of dumb games. I think the difference is that if a game is to be dumb, it should have a core joy to it, either mechanically or narratively. Army of Two has glimpses of this in both camps, but the grey sludge surrounding it keeps the game from hitting a stride. After giving the player the laziest character selection screen known to man, and then a tutorial I will go into later, the story properly begins with our titular pair getting into a helicopter in Somalia for the first mission. The year is 1993, and these two army rangers are meant to act as backup to an unstable mercenary hired to kill a guy named Mualim. For some reason. The scene is over in mere seconds and establishes so little that you have to look at the objective to even know that Mualim is a warlord. To understand why we are in Somalia to begin with, a history book is your safest bet. This trend of non-established information continues as the level has you get straight into shooting people while barely being able to tell our protagonists apart. To the game's credit, the second of two pieces of dialogue in these first 5 minutes of a level does establish the only important difference between the two. One is dumb, the other is not.
Where are we supposed to meet this guy?
The old Continental Hotel.
Where the hell is that?
It's up ahead this way.
Glad you know where you're going. All this shit looks the same to me.
That's almost all the characterization you get for the two in this entire narrative. Even something as simple as background trivia on the selection screen would have given you something to work with. You don't even get their first names yet outside of combat barks unless you waited for the attract mode in the main menu. I understand the importance of kicking things off fast in a co-op game, but if you're gonna have all of this dialogue and fancy pre-rendered cutscenes, doesn't that mean the player should have at least a single reason to care for the protagonists? It's extra baffling since we get immediate strong characterization for the unhinged mercenary they're here to support. Philip Clyde, a man who has to be seen to be believed.
Watch out! Shit, man, they got us pinned down.
I know, I can't get a shot off.
Who does this guy think he is?
Bro, that was so badass. You wish you had skills like that.
I'm Corporal Tyson Rios, and this is Private First Class Elliot Salem, Chalk 4, U.S. Army Rangers. Are you Philip Clyde?
What the fuck do you think?
Bro, we're supposed to help you take out Colonel Mo Ali.
First of all, I ain't your bro. Second of all, you don't tell me to wait. I tell you what to do. And last, if you think I need your help with this or anything else, you are a moron. Now that we got that cleared up, why don't you just shut the fuck up and watch a real professional in action? You might learn a thing or two.
All right, Professor. Why don't you start by teaching us where Moalim is hiding?
He's right here, inside the Continental Hotel. Why do you think I had you meet me here?
Perfect. Immaculate. Douchebag established. Him turning Elliot's bro speak against him is the best, but the entire scene just screams unhinged psychopath. Usually, you have writers trying too hard to make you like a character, but rarely have I felt things went in the totally opposite direction. The man is so actively hostile you'd think it was a ruse, but no, he is just at the zenith of assholery. The immediate introduction of Moalim and subsequent boss fight against him and his goons falls much flatter save for his outfit being so extra.
Well, look who it is. Johnny American. You think you own the whole world, that you can go wherever you please, huh? Take what you want. But this is not your country. This is our country. And this is how we say hello in our country.
I suppose they were going for some sort of irony by having the Somali warlord decked out in a cowboy hat and golden gun chastise the Americans for always taking what they want, but I'm not sure I should give the game that much credit.
Shit!
You okay, man? This ain't funny. We could have been
Quit your
killed.
whining and head around the other side of this building. We need to secure the marketplace so Dalton can land the chopper for extraction.
We gotta talk to Dalton. This guy is such an asshole.
I know. I tried to tell him before, but he wasn't having any of it.
Man, that's what sucks about the Army. We don't get to choose what missions we go on or who we work with. We just have to follow orders.
Are you just now figuring this out?
Having established why Elliot would want to join a private military company and why Tyson would feel compelled to babysit him when he does, the game offers a customary turret sequence before the plot is truly set into motion. By Clyde, no less. He tempts Richard Dalton, the commander of the Somalia mission, into joining Strategy and Security Company, SSC, a PMC which also welcomes the Army of Two into its embrace. Ignoring the only woman in the narrative wanting nothing to do with our protagonists, and Clyde's stupid mohawk, what sends me about this scene is the ending going into a montage. Here it's revealed that SSC kept their uniforms on the wall behind a sci-fi bulkhead door like it's a goddamn superhero outfit.
In his farewell address to the nation, President Eisenhower left America with a strong warning. Ernest Stockwell, CEO of Security and Strategy Corporation, says that warning was misguided, and our future depends on the private military.
To fear the military-industrial complex is to fear progress. Look at the operation in Somalia. 35 U.S. soldiers dead, hundreds wounded. But not a single private contractor was injured in the operation. We outperformed the military and achieved all our objectives flawlessly. Some critics will call this profiteering, but I call it progress.
To nobody's surprise, a game starring mercenaries is themed around the implications of privatizing the military and drawing a clear link between capital and war. Now you would think this is set up for a critique of the idea, but as we will later see, the game doesn't exactly have the spine to do that. But it does have the spine to end the montage here though, and then immediately send our pair off to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Wake up, hon. It's Alice.
Alice who?
You haven't seen the news, have you?
Once again, terrorist attacks.
Your plane for Afghanistan leaves at noon.
Oh, shit.
Things are about to get real busy.
Real fast, so get ready. Tyson,
Are you listening to me?
Yeah. Noon. I'll be there.
Without playing through this first hour of the game yourself, or at least watching a recording of it, it's difficult to comprehend just what a roller coaster this has been. It shouldn't be surprising, but somehow, the speed and audacity of this narrative keeps you guessing, all the while not even feeling properly edgy, just crass and dumb. It's a very particular balancing act that evokes a feeling of befuddlement I can't put to words. If you value art but what it makes you feel, then Army of Two has something special to offer in that regard. Despite the loaded theming, the actual plot of the Afghanistan mission barely matters. The game tries to pretend it does by the end, but it's really just an excuse to blow up some Russian missiles, rescue a POW, and then fight another oddly dressed maniac for what I assume is meant as sweet, sweet catharsis for an American audience. But those crafty Canadians on the dev team weren't crafty enough, so the game glitched out on me, giving Al-Habib here white eyes that made him look even more like a comic book villain. The actual plot details we do get start with this communique from Dalton.
Rios, Salem, I got some news for you. This is straight from Stockwell, not announced yet, so need to keep it on the DL, okay?
Sure.
We just acquired Black Mountain Industries. SSC is now the largest contractor in the world.
Black Mountain? Those guys nearly killed us in Mexico.
They were just doing their job. Anyway, don't tell Stockwell I told you any of this.
Yeah, like we talk to him every day.
Alright, boys. Over and out.
This merger serves as the final piece of setup before the plot really starts rolling next mission, but the narrative meat here is so very thin. We get the smallest hint of characterization for Elliot, something I feel they could have done a lot more with.
Damn Cowboys better win tonight.
Big game, huh?
I got 10 G's on the spread.
A year ago, you didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, and now you're blowing 10 grand on sports betting?
Whatever, if I win, I'll be able to pay off my credit cards.
You are out of your mind.
We're pulling so much bank now, how can you worry about cash?
We're making bank because we're at war now. This war ends and you're not gonna be able to sustain your lifestyle.
Relax, man, this war ain't ending anytime soon.
Elliot developing a gambling addiction alongside this influx of cash is a great angle for a hired gun. The problem is that they don't do anything with it. Elliot is simply incapable of long-term planning, and that's all we get. Nothing about how he lives for thrills after a boring desk job, no family to leave with a bunch of cash in case he dies, and no tragic angle of how finally getting money didn't change his life like he wanted. Instead, he spends his screen time chastising Tyson for thinking the game has a plot.
This ain't right. Sending us in here without even a gas mask? I'm gonna talk to Dalton when we get back.
I'm telling you, man, something going on here. Why is Dalton handling this mission?
Will you shut up with this shit already? Focus on what you're doing and don't waste your time with this nonsense.
Don't you think that is a little suspicious?
You want to solve a mystery? Okay, I got a game of Clue you can play when we get back home. Till then, just focus on getting out of here without getting killed or getting some strange disease.
Hey, you hear about that ambush in Kabul?
Yeah, good thing we ain't in the army anymore.
It was a Delta unit operating off the grid. How did anyone know where they were?
Why don't you stop worrying about shit that doesn't relate to us and focus on the mission? We did it, man!
Something ain't right. I want to know what this mission is really about.
Who cares? I don't think about this shit, man. I don't know why you do. And right now, I just want to get the fuck out of here and get decontaminated.
And that's really it for our main duo. If the rest of the plot didn't jump off the rails adorned in feces and burning gasoline, I could probably move on to gameplay now. So let's see this through and move on to the next spot on the writer's hit list.
The Federal Trade Commission has just approved the merger of Security and Strategy Corporation with Black Mountain Industries, creating the largest private military corporation in the world. A controversial move which has some critics worried that SSC has become too powerful.
The most important factor for us is the security and safety of this nation and our allies. As always, SSC is here to support and interact with our nation's
you two ready to go back to Iraq?
and to make sure we all have a bright future.
Iraq.
I have time for about 2 questions.
I'm sure you've heard about the recent wave of ambushes on U.S. troops. It's a lot of bad press. So, get this. The Army's hired us to carry out a high-priority mission. They think we're better equipped to deal with the potential ambushes than they are.
Hey, as long as they're paying, I don't give a shit what they think.
You got that right.
Just like before, there is another POW that needs our attention. Now, despite there being a ranger earlier narrating the tutorial that the player could conceivably remember, Pedro, Eisenhower here, no relation, isn't him. That guy briefly shows up next level, but this reunion is still treated like something noteworthy, even though the player has no idea who he is.
Hey, Sam? It's me, Elliot, from the Rangers.
Never thought I'd see you again. Still a little bitch, look at you.
Are you okay, man?
Looks worse than it is, man, I'll be fine. What's it been, like 10 years?
Longer, since way back in Somalia, man.
Listen, I'm sorry about the shit I said back there. You guys did a great job today.
It's all good, man. It was good to see you again after all these years.
Yeah,
Be safe, bro! You too! We'll grab a beer when this war is over, you son of a bitch.
Yes, we will! Yes, we will! Rios to Murray, mission accomplished. Eisenhower's on the chopper. Should we proceed to extraction ourselves?
Then he blows up.
Holy shit!
What happened?
That's Eisenhower's chopper!
Eisenhower's helicopter, it just blew up!
Shit. I'll call the DOD. Over and out.
Our third impending boss fight man, Ali Youssef, takes responsibility for the explosion. This is all of his character.
Long live Saddam!
Shit, man, that's him! Ali Youssef!
Plus being immune to bullets to the face, if that counts as a character trait. Just like the last two, he also doesn't matter. What is important is that Tyson starts to rub his 9 brain cells together.
Do you think he knew something? Who? Eisenhower. You think that's why they killed him?
What, are you nuts, man?
They singled him out. They knew he was the one in that chopper. He knew something. They couldn't let him get back to the base.
Who's they? What's with you and all these conspiracy theories? He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Simple as that.
You know, I've been thinking, how did we get ambushed before? We're uncoded freaks. Only ones who knew our location was SSC and Army HQ.
Don't know, don't care.
We hear about these ambushes every day on the news. I think someone's telling them where our troops are.
You and your conspiracy theories. You're a real piece of work, Tice. Fuck yeah! That's for Eisenhower!
Rio, Salem, you did it. I knew you'd pull through on this one. Over and out.
You know, I keep hearing his words in my head about the company having no morals. About why government should have armies, not companies, you know? And it worries me, man. I don't exactly trust everyone at SSC.
Are we noticing a pattern yet? Go to an arid country, fight a bombastic head honcho of no consequence, all the while Tyson very briefly tries to set up more story. These initial post-Somalia missions are about an hour long and the plot is awkwardly spread across them as thinly as possible. That's unfortunate, but gameplay is king here, so I get it. We need armies of dudes to shoot and a big boss at the end. What I take umbrage with is the last comment by Tyson. He is clearly referring to Eisenhower, but also to a conversation with him that we haven't heard. It's obvious they have history together, so I don't doubt the existence of that exchange, but it's not part of the story told. With this framing, you would think Eisenhower said something profound during the rescue earlier that's been eating away at Tyson, but he didn't. So it really feels like the writer is using Tyson to gaslight you into thinking the story's better written than it is, which also happened at the end of the last mission. If the first mission actually established our main characters and the squad they belong to, maybe this narrative would have a better chance of functioning. For a moment, I had the terrible thought that the writing was smarter than I gave it credit for by having Tyson's dialogue refer to President Eisenhower. Thankfully, the existence of a definite article referring to the company, SSC, put that terror to rest. I think what's going on behind the veil of an incomplete script is that they intended for Lieutenant Colonel Eisenhower to echo the thoughts and feelings of President Eisenhower to spur on Tyson. That's hack writing at its finest, but for whatever reason that didn't make it into the script, so all we're left with is confusion and a fear of the writing staff's next move. Which consists of circling back to a bill briefly mentioned earlier, which is set to privatize the US military.
Janice, this bill will replace our enlisted force with a profit-driven army. It's completely absurd.
Is this true, Senator? Your bill would privatize the military?
What Senator Whitehorse seems to be forgetting is that our enlisted forces just lost an aircraft carrier to terrorists. And that's not to mention all of the recent ambushes and unnecessary casualties. You see...
Punctuated by Tyson becoming the fucking predator.
War isn't what it used to be. The rules of engagement don't apply anymore. Time and time again, we've seen that private corporations are better and more adept at handling this kind of threat. To put it simply, if the military isn't able to take care of business, we need someone who is.
I talked to Section 8 and he thinks someone is leaking U.S. troop positions to our enemies.
You gotta chill on the conspiracy theories, man.
Well, he thinks it's coming from inside SSC.
Must be the Illuminati.
Credit to the team for tapping into eldritch horror for their military shooter, making my mind bend trying to comprehend its true form. That takes talent. Not every rider is enough of a chaos merchant to assault the human mind to this extent. And as if on cue, this next mission is where Clyde comes back. This was a 5-year time skip, by the way, so now we have landed in current day 2008, 15 years after the Somalia mission. So not only are the early missions thin on plot, the entire career of our boys has been kind of wasted as well. I'm certain this was done just to slot in Operation Gothic Center and the War on Terror before the game's plot kicks into gear.
You're fucking dead!
Look who it is.
Learn to shoot, fuckos! I ain't carrying your corpses back to Dalton.
Look, we ain't any happier to be doing this with you than you are to be doing it with us. So let's just stay out of each other's hair and get this thing done.
No problem, fucko.
Fucko? Who says that?
Clyde really is the star of the show. Every time he is on screen, he just absorbs your attention like a sponge, walking that fine line between hateable and lovable as filtered through his absurd presence in the plot. Which finally clicks into place by giving our boys an actual goal.
Hey, what are you guys doing?
Who's that guy?
Both of you are fucking dead.
What the hell was Clyde doing?
He was helping the enemy, that's what he was doing.
I told you to mind your own fucking business.
Hey, Elliot, you know how I thought someone was leaking US troop positions to our enemies? Well, Section 8 hacked into the drive we found, and he says it was Clyde. That drive is full of troop positions and transaction records with terrorists and enemies.
This is in no way a surprising development, but it aligns the previous elements of the story, making sense of the poor foreshadowing we have been subjected to so far. For as messy as things have been up to now, things at least make some degree of sense going forward. The way you get through the carrier, less so.
Stuck in this hangar, bro.
You guys figure out how to get out of that room?
Negative.
Hello? Maybe you can use the fighter jet to blast down the door?
Why does she have to be such a bitch sometimes?
While not part of the plot, scenes like this and all of Clyde's presence tells me the people making the game weren't afraid of things being clown shoes, but they don't commit to it enough for it to stick like Bulletstorm does. The fact that these moments are somewhat rare amidst all the color-drained shootbangs does make them hit harder though. I don't think the resulting whiplash was intended, but it does give the game unique flavor.
What the hell is going on? Why did you leave the captain on the bridge? He was hurt. Over.
This thing's turned into a real nightmare. The captain says there's nuclear weapons on board and we can't control the engine. We gotta help him bring the ship down before we reach Manila.
What? What are you gonna do?
We're working with the captain. We'll take care of it. Then we'll head back to the bridge and get him out of here. Over. So much for the Navy SEALs saving the day.
Shit, bro. That's fucking Pedro.
Clyde did this. He killed Pedro, and he killed Eisenhower.
Eisenhower died in Iraq. You saw him die.
Clyde leaked those troop positions. He's responsible for what happened to Eisenhower.
Pedro, man! Eisenhower! They were the only ones left from our Ranger squad. I can't believe it!
This is the appearance of Pedro I alluded to in the last mission, which really doesn't work. It's been ages since the tutorial, so I doubt many will remember that Pedro was the one handing out tutorial instructions over radio. And even if you did, why would you care? Again, so much of this could be better if we actually established the Army Rangers properly beforehand. Calling it cheap writing undermines the very concept of trade. It's more like stale free sample writing. After safely detonating the onboard ordnance to protect the nuclear warheads, we get the game's singular set piece, which really isn't much to write home about. And once again, Elliot puts both feet in his mouth, making him all the more frustrating to have around.
I don't know if we can go back to SSC now. We don't know if Clyde is operating alone, and if he's not, they know we know.
Would you quit this shit already? I'm sure Clyde was just trying to make a few extra bucks. It's not some grand conspiracy.
I don't know, man. I just don't know.
But the next cutscene does give him some comeuppance.
Hello, are you listening to me?
Can I call you right back?
We simply can't.
Okay, so that doesn't actually happen to Elliot, but tell me that's not a more apt fate compared to this concussion.
Richard, you know as well as I do that it's not about what I want.
Elliot, where the hell are you?
It's about what the American
Hello,
people
are you
want.
listening to me?
Can I call you right back?
The American people want to end this war.
It's about time you got here.
And when they go to the polls this November, they'll vote for the only military that can do that. The private military. Senator Whitehorse, this bill will pass.
Over my dead body it will.
I'm sorry, we need to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Senators Richter and Whitehorse debating the bill to privatize...
Murray wants us to do another mission.
What? You said you wouldn't talk to her till we figured out if she's working with Clyde, leaking troop positions.
It's Murray, man. We can trust her. Besides, we already agreed we're gonna quit and go public with the evidence. What does it matter if we do one last mission? Come on, man. I can really use the cash.
All right, Alice. When you go.
One can only hope to have a bro like Tyson in their life, because that look he gave tells you everything you need to know about how nice and accommodating he is.
He's staying at the Jiangmin Hotel in the cliffs overlooking the Lijiang River. He's extremely well guarded, so you won't be able to get close to him. Instead, your instructions are to destroy this bridge as his convoy passes over it in the morning. If Muhammad's bodyguards pursue you, head downriver and radio for extraction once you've lost them. Everything clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell are you guys doing in South Korea anyway?
Just helping out an old friend.
If you don't know who this is, I don't blame you. Xiaomin Su is one of the 4 weapon dealers in the upgrade menu, none of which get more than a name, picture, and country of origin in said menu. In a different context, randomly pulling in a merchant the player has properly interacted with but not considered a real character into the main plot could be neat. That's not the case here, though he does add a little bit of flavor to the game's final mission. Since the train scene was expensive, our boys just get bamfed to China when it ends. Here I will take the time to praise an excellent piece of ludonarrative resonance. Throughout the game, you have been getting objectives with an associated amount of cash next to them, which serves as motivation to keep playing and do side objectives. But here you suddenly get an incredible jump in pay, $30,000.
Rio, Salem, at the top of the stairs you'll get a good vantage point for taking out the bridge. Over and out.
Hey, Alice, what's been going on back home?
The bill to privatize the military is coming up soon. Senator Whitehorse has been campaigning against it pretty hard. I don't know if it'll pass. Over.
That's money in our pockets, babe. You better hope it passes. Over and out.
What's even better is that the objective pops up just as our handler Alice is talking about the bill for privatizing the US military. But you don't care, because you've given in to greed and become distracted by money, just like Elliot, which makes the twist oh so delightful.
What the hell's going on here, Alice? This ain't Abu Sayyad, it's Chinese military.
No, right now I'm trying to find your evac chopper. It's like it completely disappeared. Over.
You mean we got no way out of here?
That's what it looks like. Look, let me figure something out. Over.
One last mission, huh? Great fucking idea.
You could have said no.
Fuck you.
Guys, you're not gonna believe this, but there's a contract out on you two. You're wanted for murder.
Say what?
We didn't kill nobody. Well, actually, we killed a lot of people.
Wow, it's a huge bounty. This must be some kind of mistake. Well, let me look into it. Over and out.
Murder? This is bad, man. Real bad. That's a Chinese army chopper. What the hell are they doing here? Why the fuck are they shooting at us?
I don't know. We just moved their bridge. Maybe they're a little pissed.
Oh my god. The AP is reporting Senator Richard Whitehorse killed by Korean terrorists while crossing a bridge over the Lijiang River. Let's check the box.
Shit, that's what shit, Alice.
You knew I didn't, but somebody did. I'm gonna find out who it was. Over and out.
This is starting to smell real fishy.
This is where the story truly fails. Having put the player in Elliot's shoes and established the betrayal done to them both, the writer does not underline the dangers of a private military by actually having Elliot grow as a person from the experience. When the most profitable objective in the game, which the player is incentivized to repeat to grind for upgrades, involves being manipulated into murdering a senator to further the power of the private sector, how can you not make use of that? I would love it if this deep into the narrative the writer actually took a stand and built up to the ending we all want, where our two mercs actually looked inside themselves and rejected what they've become in the last 15 years. That would be powerful stuff, but instead the game just breaks its own legs at the finish line, presumably to make sure the sequels could exist. Best we get at the moment is Elliot leading the charge of digesting the conspiracy.
We know they wanted Whitehorse dead, so the bill to privatize the military would pass.
Yeah, and they knew we knew about Clyde. So they just figured they'd kill two birds with one stone.
Typical SSC. Fucking cheap bastards.
Hey Alice, listen. I think Dalton and Stockwell set us up.
Stockwell maybe, but Dalton? He loves you guys. Why would he do that?
When we were on the aircraft carrier, we found out that Clyde has been leaking troop positions to our enemies. We think it's a plot to make the army look bad so SSC gets more jobs. Over.
What? Why didn't you tell me?
We weren't sure we could trust you.
You didn't know if you could trust me after all we've been through? Fuck you.
Nice one, bro.
And just in case you thought Elliot grew brain cells this chapter, here's what he says just beforehand.
Hey, Dice, who do you think's the best rapper in the Wu-Tang Clan?
Elliot, we just got set up to kill a U.S. senator. Our careers are over and we're in a life-and-death situation. Why are you asking me this shit right now?
A lot of people say it's the RZA, but I kinda like Ghostface Killer. And so, actually, I don't think I ever heard the You Got album. Did you hear that?
Will you shut up with this stupid bullshit and let me think?
Chill, man. I get it. We're both under a lot of pressure. You cope your way, I talk Wu-Tang.
If you don't shut the hell up, you'll get to cope with my foot up your ass.
He's just such a tiring presence in the plot, like a money-grubbing brick wall.
Alice, you gotta get us out of here. Over.
I can't find any escape routes. I'll keep looking.
You got any more good news?
Wish I did. Over and out.
What are we gonna do with the data we got from Clyde, showing he was sabotaging the army?
We gotta show it to Stockwell. See if he knows about this shit.
And what if he does?
We gotta bring it to the feds, the press. Something.
Why are you always trying to be a hero, man? Why don't we just bury it and keep our jobs?
You know we can't do that.
No. You can't do that. If it was up to me, that's what we'd be doing.
To raise the stakes before the end here, Alice of course gets kidnapped.
Rio, Salem, you there? I've been doing some digging on Dalton and Stockwell and... Hey! Wait!
You're coming with me.
They got Alice!
Fuck this shit!
But fear not, enduring the China mission does come with a reward. An express ticket to Clown Town, Florida.
We'll land at Marathon Airport and head straight for SSC Island. My guess is Dalton's gonna be up on the executive floors. We need to keep him from reaching the helipad on the roof.
I just hope that hurricane doesn't hit.
When we come back, they're saying this could be bigger than Katrina.
Hurricane?
A Category 5 hurricane headed straight for South Florida.
Still
We'll have
no
the latest
response.
in just
No,
a
sir.
few minutes.
Not since they refueled in Mexico.
Scramble two of our birds and keep them out of the path of that storm.
Unidentified aircraft. Change course to 0790. We will escort you to landing. Do you copy?
Yo, Ellie, check this out.
It's over your head.
Alpha Starling to Homestead. No
You didn't
response.
imagine that.
It looks like the pilot's dead. Do you copy?
We don't want another 9/11.
Bring it down over the ocean. Copy that, Homestead. Over.
You know, you two really piss me off. I swear to God, if Dalton didn't have such a hard-on for the both of you, I'd have killed you a long time ago.
Yes, actually.
What the hell? Homestead to Alpha Starling.
What's the status?
Starboard engine's out, sir, but I'm seeing what looks like gunfire in the passenger cabin. Please advise.
What's their heading?
Still on course for downtown Miami. If they make it through the hurricane.
We gotta get out of here. Take them down and get the hell out of there.
They're doing this.
He didn't just shit.
real.
Alright, she's going down. Let's go. Roger that.
Let's get out of here.
Open, damn it! Open!
Okay, now that we've made it this far, I think it's about time to reflect before we continue. I was absolutely flabbergasted at this point, as there is simply no way you'd expect Clyde to one-up himself by appearing with a Glasgow grin out of nowhere. Which, if you know your 2008 movies, would immediately bring a certain Caped Crusader film to mind. But wouldn't you know it, Army of Two actually beat The Dark Knight to the punch by 3 whole months. Now, obviously they could have been inspired by the trailer 8 months prior, but the fact that this is an FMV cutscene makes it murky. I don't know what production schedule these presumably external cutscenes had, so I choose to believe it's just a happy coincidence. A coincidence which dates the game even more to the exact cultural moment in time it came out in. Leveraging Hurricane Katrina and 9/11 in the same scene is just the cherry on top of this confounding concrete cake. Anyway, let's continue.
It was Clyde. You killed the pilot and crashed the plane.
Clyde? Who is Clyde?
Philip Clyde. He works for SSC.
Tell you what, I'll send helicopter to get you on the airport roof. Use the helicopter to find that motherfucker Clyde and kill him for me. Also, if you see any of Clyde's personal guards, kill them too.
But Clyde was...
He's gonna be gone. We'll get him for you.
What are you doing, man? Clyde died in the plane crash.
Relax, man. It'll be fine.
This banter offers a little bit of comedic tension throughout the level, which does make the tidal wave of dudes in need of shooting feel less like a slog. Said dudes being basically all of the mercs of SSC. The first order of business is to rescue Alice, who really didn't deserve a larger role in this story.
Not done yet! Finish him!
Alice, you okay?
Shut up, bitch!
Get the hell up here! Hurry, please!
I said shut the hell up!
Being the only woman in a dude bro shooter is thankless work, especially when your traumatic rescue has to establish how we are still getting paid for objectives.
Hey, I didn't have a chance to tell you, but when I figured everything out, I transferred some of SSC's money into an offshore account for you. Kind of like a farewell gift from the company. As soon as I make it to an internet connection, I'll move it to your accounts. Hey, you guys just earned it. Ah, shit, I can't stand up. Can one of you guys carry me? Thank you.
I got you. You're gonna be alright.
You have to stop Dalton. He's gonna kill Stockwell.
What do we care if he kills Stockwell? That guy set us up.
No, it wasn't him. Stockwell might have known Dalton was breaking some rules, but he didn't know he was putting U.S. troops in danger to make SSC look good. When Senator Whitehorse was killed, Stockwell found out and tried to turn Dalton over to the feds.
You're saying Dalton's the mastermind behind all of this?
Yeah, he's been revealing troop positions and lobbying Congress to privatize the military. He's only keeping Stockwell around to take the fall if anyone finds out.
Given Stockwell's low screen time, this is a good twist, since we've been dealing with Dalton since the beginning and he has a good deal of charisma. And it doesn't absolve Stockwell either. If anything, him letting things escalate to this point on his watch just because it was profitable is even more damning than if he was responsible. But given the ending we are heading towards, I am less than keen to give points for this.
So what happens if this bill passes and they do privatize the military?
SSC becomes the world's most powerful military entity. Dalton kills Stockwell and makes it look like an accident. And then he runs SSC himself and does terrible things.
Like what?
Like hold countries hostage, declare war for profit, whatever he wants.
Alright, there it is. Clear as day. The reasons why an unregulated military force is bad. Cool, I'm with you, Ryder. But doesn't that mean that we, as a cog in that machine, are the baddies by proxy? Just a thought. Speaking of thoughts, or the lack thereof, I haven't been mad at Elliot in a while.
Who Who's calling me now?
Tyson Rios, this is Ernest Stockwell. I need you to get me out of here. I'll pay you whatever you want.
I don't want your money. I want you to help us clear our names.
I have copies of the evidence spread out on 4 servers in the archive room. You can upload it, but hurry. Dalton's up there trying to destroy everything.
Okay, and one more thing. If you're involved in this shit in any way, you need to turn yourself in. Friends of ours have been killed.
I will. Just get me out of here.
Okay. We'll take care of Dalton and be back for you.
Idiot! Stockwell was offering to give us money and you were like, no, just do the right thing. Since when are you such a goddamn Boy Scout?
He said he was gonna turn himself in. That's what matters.
Like he's really gonna do that. That guy will be in Venezuela by sunrise.
The audacity of this man. How can you be such a greedy contrarian? I didn't even think to combine those two words before, but here we are.
So you boys found your way into the Hornet's nest. Too bad all my men know you took a contract from the terrorists to kill a U.S. senator. You see, my men are good people. They won't let murderers like you walk out of this building alive.
Can you believe he used to be our friend?
You know what they say. Power corrupts.
Wow. Deep.
I can't believe all these years we never really knew who Dalton was.
You know, you gave me all this shit about conspiracy theories, but it looks like I was right on.
Okay, you were right. Is that what you want? You want to say I told you so? Go ahead.
I told you so.
There, you said it. How does that feel?
Good.
I agree. But how in the goddamn hell does it take until this point in the story for this interaction to occur? And don't think you get anything more than this crumb of development from Elliot. He really is that awful. If they wanted something with impact, they might as well have ended the game with a shootout between the two over money instead of trying to back down on Elliot. Sadly, all we get is a firefight with the guy the game has failed to make us hate more than one of the protagonists.
Permission to fire, sir.
Get them out of my life.
As if answering my critique, they try really hard to make this clown more hateable at the last possible moment. It's incredibly silly.
I'm gonna tear you up so bad, your own mama ain't gonna recognize you.
Yo! Leave my mama out of this!
I'm gonna kill you both, slice you open and go to an aerobics class wearing your intestines for leg warmers.
I mean, does that even make sense?
I'm gonna kill you both, then I'm gonna drain all your blood, take out your bones, put your body in a big chair with some elves and reindeer, and sit on your lap and tell you all the cool shit I want for Christmas.
This guy clearly had a messed up childhood.
You think?
Now, you'd think with all this setup and the intended catharsis, killing Clyde would be this strong moment where our two protagonists show the strength of their bond and to...
I'd like to see him come back from that.
Ralph, there's no way. He's dead.
Right. Can't compare ourselves to the cinematic masterpiece that is Resident Evil 5, that would just be unfair. But you know what's not unfair? Complaining about not getting a helicopter boss fight at the end of your 7th gen shooter.
Shit, he's getting away!
I'm sorry it had to come to this. I like working with you both. But this is what happens when you try to take the law into your own hands.
Survey says
You're dead. Come on, let's get out of here.
As has been detailed in many places, a lot of games from this era are incredibly lopsided and ended up with really terrible endings where things just stop. But to the credit of EA Montreal, they did put out some free DLC close to launch with a new mission in Kiev and an alternate ending where you get to actually fight Dalton in an SSC vault. Sadly, it was delisted years ago for some reason, so I will have to retract that praise and focus on the normal ending.
Former former CEO of Security and Strategy Corporation, Ernest Stockwell, was released from prison today after serving 3 months of his 6-month sentence. This has caused controversy, with some saying the Department of Justice was already too lenient on Stockwell, whose company was involved in last summer's massive privatization scandal and was implicated in the deaths of Alaskan Senator Richard Whitehorse and countless U.S. servicemen and
Where the hell are you? I've been trying to reach you for days.
What? Rios?
Yeah, hun, listen. Me and Elliot started our own firm, Trans World Operations. So, we need a good contract filer. You available?
Wait, you guys started a PMC? Where'd you find investors for that?
You know, we have our sources. Anyway, I gotta jump. So how about it? You in?
With everything we have gone through, I really hate that the game concludes on the note of bad PMCs are bad, but good PMCs are good, so let's keep making money doing what we do best. Despite the gigantic clusterfuck this turned into, nobody learned anything. Not even Alice, who very clearly got traumatized when she was kidnapped earlier, thinks this is a stupid idea. It's as if the plot is completely beholden to the game's framework, meaning the premise cannot be questioned just in case this can be worked into a trilogy. Which it was. I know seeing the army of two retire and go become Danish fishermen together isn't exciting and thus had no chance of happening. But seeing all the pieces for a proper critique of the idea the entire game is themed around go actively ignored just to retain the bro factor is so frustrating. Speaking of bros, how and why do Elliot and Tyson still work together? Unless you want to frame them as an old married couple, what is it that actually keeps them together for all these years? I know I've been ragging on Elliot, but surely he would feel frustrated not having his stupidity validated by Tyson all the time and want to leave. Despite covering such a large time span, the story is severely lacking in scenes where these two bond. I'm not asking for much, a simple "I gotcha man" at the start of the story would have sufficed. You can actually do this yourself with emotes, to the point where your AI partner will refuse a bro action if you've been too much of an asshole.
I got you! You lost your fucking mind, bro?
Oh, you're a fucking dead man.
If we can't have a tragic story about dissolution during war, at the very least crank up the ludicrous bro switch to the maximum so the player can lean into the fantasy of the game's title and cheer at the sight of two platonic bros punching the daylights out of terrorists together. I can't believe I'm advocating for something this dumb to be even dumber, but that's the conclusion I've come to. Now that I've said my piece on the story, let's see if the gameplay is any better.
All right, listen up. This is combat. You can die in combat. If you don't want to die, you have to use aggro. This is you. This is your partner. These are enemies. You shoot at them, attract their attention, they're gonna shoot at you, not your partner. Let's say you both shoot at them. If your partner has a bigger gun, the enemy will shoot at him instead of you. This is called aggro. If your partner has all the aggro, you're basically invisible. You can sneak around enemies, do whatever you want. But if you have the aggro, it's like you're glowing red. You even have a field aggro meter. Now go out there and kick some ass!
When I first heard of Army of Two back in the day, the aggro mechanic is what drew me to it, as it seemed neat to have something so informal and common get a formal definition for the player to mess around with. Being outside the MMO sphere, the concept of drawing aggro is still rather uncommon to me, so I'm happy to say that Army of Two explores the idea well. As the game so clearly explains, the aggro meter is the core mechanic, with success being wholly dependent on how you use it. Seeing as I'm not a monster and did not force anyone to play the game with me, this is all written from the perspective of the single player experience, which does offer a fair amount of control over your partner. While the game doesn't give you the full rundown of commands, the design language used is clear. A symbol corresponds to a mobility tactic with the color you cycle through representing aggressive or passive behavior. With some experimentation, it's easy to come to grips with the use case for each command. The most important command to learn is the hold position command. This locks your partner to the nearest piece of cover, either to recover health or to generate aggro. The baseline strategy for the entire game is to use it to make yourself a low priority target to reposition yourself or get in easy kills. That gives you a lot of power and is downright essential against turrets and armored heavies, but it can't last forever since your partner is busy getting shot to pieces. So then the pendulum swings the other way, and you will have to be the one in the spotlight while he recovers in passive mode. This will probably continue until the battle ends, or until one character holds maximum aggro long enough to unlock overkill mode. In an excellent display of design, overkill mode powers up both characters at once according to their aggro. If your partner is taking the heat, you become fully invisible and can simply skulk around wrecking faces. But if you draw the aggro using the game's enormous ammo reserves for cover fire, then they can become the dashing murder machine instead while your bullets do more damage. This is all well and good and about what you would expect going in, but playing the entire game like this, while optimal to a degree, did get stale after a while. So during my stint of New Game Plus, I decided to push the systems on the harder difficulty and see what happened. Turns out that there is actually room for a bit of skill expression for sickos. Once you learn how the combat arenas are structured, often being wide corridors with a circuit or two the AI follows, and how to hot swap between each command best without your partner getting stuck, you can actually reject cover to an extent. This increases the pace and the mental load severely compared to cover hugging, and is a blast when it's working. Juggling aggro and offing dudes faster than the enemy can handle while exploiting a quite generous health bar lends the game to the Vanquish-inspired ass-kicking I found myself doing. It's even to the point where hip firing in advance to drum up aggro before aiming is to your benefit. Especially since keeping the button held down leads straight into a melee strike if you run into the enemy. The havoc-fueled results are a sight to behold. Sadly, the punishment for bad play is quite severe, as you get knocked on your ass and need your partner to drag you out of danger before administering first aid, which takes forever. To the game's credit, the majority of the time the partner AI managed to heal me up, but other times it got stuck or simply had no hope of rescue due to overwhelming enemy numbers or bad cover. The combination of a large health bar, screen effects and sound design that tell you to fall back long before critical health, the ability to fake death once per encounter, and a partner that can draw fire means that I don't fault the game for being so mean if you mess up. The tools for success are there, but it also means that subjecting yourself to dangerous situations to try and push your skill and the game's systems to the limit does suck, since you can't even force death to reset faster. The designer was nice enough to offer a bit of adaptive difficulty at least, so I got through the late game firefights well enough on the standard difficulty. For people better at core third-person shooting than me, I think the game will offer a good challenge, but said core isn't really the best here. The frame rate is capped to 30 and I had to wrestle with a DualShock 3 to aim, so the controls start with a debuff out of the gate. Not to mention that you must hold L1 and use the D-pad to swap guns. Beyond that, your weapons start out with bad aiming stats and the acceleration while precision aiming doesn't feel great. After some upgrading and internalizing the inner workings of the inescapable aim assist, it ends up being functional. But I still lean towards rushing for melee strikes and using premature hip firing to compensate for normal shooting, as I simply could not get the handle on it sometimes. Especially with the revolver. Now, assuming you aren't revolver miss a lot too, you can probably get decent use out of grenades and the special sniper rifles. Both of these have incredibly low ammo compared to the plentiful amount you get for primaries and secondaries, which isn't surprising given how powerful they can be, but since ammo pickups are so rare, I barely made use of them. Swapping out the sniper rifle for a Stinger missile launcher to blow enemies out of cover is delightful though. On the topic of cover, there really isn't much to say. It's a soft cover system, meaning you have to manually click the left stick to duck behind chest-high walls unless you slid into cover earlier. If you aim next to a corner, the game has your character automatically lean out, but it feels awkward to do. Pressing slide when behind cover, even if you aren't ducking, has your character vault over it, which confused me for a while. Enemies can be vicious enough about flanking as is, you don't need to give them extra help shooting you to bits. In fact, you should help yourself to some bigger guns instead. Money is the name of the game, and you can deck out your guns in multiple ways if you have enough of it. Most of the upgrades are cheap enough that you can quickly get set up with something functional that generates a bit more aggro. I haven't tested every single gun, but within each class there's bound to be one you like, even if they are really similar, and the initial assault rifle will probably do most of the work unless you want to down guys with a shotty for funsies. Should you stick with an assault rifle, you can decide if you want a backup weapon as a front mount, or if you want to modify your gun by adding a shield, a suppressor, or pimp it out in gold to further modify your aggro generation. I'm guessing using the suppressor in co-op while keeping your stats low can work in order to let your partner keep the majority of aggro, but the front-mounted guns are an expensive trap. They function well, even if you need to manually swap to them before firing, just like normal grenades, but the limited ammo you get is criminal. Unlike the special weapons or grenades, front-mounted guns don't have ammo pickups. So once your 21 shells or 3 grenade rounds are out, you will have to make do with normal bullets until the next mission while cursing yourself for not picking the super accurate front-mounted grip instead. But fear not, the expensive primaries have your back. Not that you should actually buy them, since you get every single primary for free after beating the game on normal mode. Which is a real kick in the pants if you spend half the game saving up for one. The automatic shotgun is kind of whatever, but the Gatling gun and the grenade launcher are a lot of fun, accuracy or maximum ammo capacity notwithstanding. They add some much needed flavor to the experience, just like the Stinger missiles do. Something I could do without, beyond the in-menu loading screens, is the way armor upgrades are handled. There are 3 levels of armor, each one being unlocked for free after a certain mission. Keyword being unlocked, as you still need to manually equip new armor. The game doesn't tell you this, leading to the awful situation I had where I played through half the China level in the wrong suit. Since you get them for free, I don't understand why the game doesn't tell you a new one is available or simply auto-equip it for you. As a fun little bonus, you can actually swap guns with your partner mid-mission, which is one of the many co-op actions present in the game. In between standard shooting and partner commandeering, you also group up in multiple ways to get through the game. The tutorial introduces 2 of these co-op actions, starting with the heavily contextual co-op snipe. This is used a handful of times throughout the game to blow up fuel tanks and start firefights by capping 2 dudes at the same time. It's one of those gimmicks that's such a gimmick that the game would be better off without it. You're really not missing out ignoring it, outside of the few objectives that kinda require it. Back-to-back sections, on the other hand, are pretty fun. Despite featuring a couple of turret sections, going back-to-back is really the same thing except better. These are short sequences where our 2 mercs stick together, don their Metal Gear bandanas for infinite ammo, and go to town in slow motion. It's a good pacebreaker that transitions into a normal firefight once the present dude horde has been thinned out. On a similar note, grabbing a shield is also a play in a turret section, which also ends up more interesting. One character dictates movement and the other one shoots, so success is dependent on coordination. Much like reviving is probably better with a human, the AI isn't the best at picking targets, but it's still a valuable chance to make progress in a fight without needing to hug cover the entire time. By contrast, when parachuting, having a human on the controls is to your detriment, at least on the PS3 version where you need to use 6-axis input to steer, which is incredibly disorienting. The AI is good about popping heads with a sniper rifle, but God help you trying to dodge cliff faces and missiles while going down. Or being the one on the gun. Something tells me sniper rifles aren't built for deployment while parachuting. A minor co-op action is giving or receiving a boost to get up ledges, which is pretty standard for any game with an AI partner to keep characters together. What's odd here is that you actually do combat with the top shooting as the bottom lifts him up or down. All of these encounters are basically the same though, so you wonder why they're even here. The hovercraft elicits similar questions, since the guy on the gun really doesn't matter. You can just drive past the enemies and focus on the drab environments. Complaining about the presentation of a 7th gen shooter is basically a free space, but let's try to be fair here. Starting off, while the frame rate limit sucks, I only ever noticed it dipping in a cutscene and out on the carrier, which is commendable. Less commendable is the bad pop-in on certain chainlink textures, which is some of the most baffling pop-in I've ever seen. Worse yet are the loading times, which range from 15 to 30 seconds depending on if it's a respawn or a fresh load. Thankfully, once you're in a mission and manage to stay alive, there's little time spent loading thanks to them preloading during cutscenes. One thing the loading screens do manage to achieve though is make a singular song the most memorable one in the entire game through sheer repetition. If you told me this was the only song on the soundtrack, I would almost believe you, because the rest of the soundtrack just completely fades into the background while playing, which is a shame, since they're pretty decent. Like, this isn't bad at all. Hell, the music actually gets subdued in the Chinese village. I think the sound mixing and high focus on mid-battle speech and combat barks is the real culprit here. But when it comes to the color scheme, there are no excuses. Even at its most vibrant, the game was intended to look this washed out. It's not an invalid creative choice, but it sure was an ever-present one during this era, and I'm glad we're past it. Going into this game, I expected to be taken for a ride, and I certainly was. The plot is crass absurdity with little respect for its own theme, and moment-to-moment gameplay is pretty fun with loads of explosions. That makes for a decent experience, but looking at it properly you realize it could be so much better. Given the publisher and time of release, you can't really expect much more than this, save for a script that doesn't gaslight you, but I would like to see it anyway. I've only really dabbled in third-person cover shooters, and I have to wonder if it's simply really hard to design games like this that scale their difficulty properly, feel good, and have interesting encounter design. The Aggro system is certainly something that could serve other co-op games well, as by gamifying it to this degree you can hand the controls of it to the player and design your encounters around the resulting flow of alternating aggro. But this is a genre spearheaded by AAA studios shooting for the lowest common denominator, so finding a game outside of Vanquish to really push the envelope is probably a fool's errand. There are 2 sequels to this game that might develop the formula a bit more though. I don't have high expectations, but if each one contains their own Philip Clyde, then they are worth looking at in the future. Speaking of looking at things, for those curious on what experiencing Army of Two does to a person but without the drive to play it themselves, feel free to check out my blind let's play of it as linked below. I was very much emotionally unprepared to venture into Clowntown. I've seen it 3 times now! My eyes refuse to process! And if you have some fun co-op memories of the game or strong opinions on how to measure a great third-person shooter, don't forget to tell me in the comments. Thank you for watching, and please make sure you're subscribed in time for the next episode, whatever it might be.
Ha 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 ha!